The Galactic Union was a place of wonder, filled with thousands of alien species, each with its own strange beauty and wisdom. For centuries they had lived among the stars, trading, exploring, and sometimes fighting for power. Humanity was one of the newest members of this vast union. Compared to the ancient races, humans were young, curious, and still learning how to survive in a galaxy full of mysteries. Captain Adrian Holt was chosen as Earth's ambassador to the Zelthari Empire, one of the most powerful and respected civilizations in the galaxy. The Zelthari were known for their glowing, crystal-like bodies. Their forms shimmered with light and their voices carried soft musical tones. To look at them was like seeing living art. They were graceful, wise, and some said, dangerously beautiful. Adrian's ship, the Silver Horizon, approached the Zelthari homeworld, a planet that looked like a diamond floating in black space. It sparkled with color as sunlight hit its surface. From orbit it looked unreal, like something made by dreamers rather than nature. His heart raced as he looked through the window. This was not just a mission of diplomacy. It was a testing to see if humanity could stand equal among beings older and far more advanced than themselves. The landing bay opened with a soft golden glow. Zelthari attendants waited in perfect formation. Each figure reflected the light of the stars like a living mirror. When Adrian stepped out, he could see his own reflection in their crystal faces. His human figure looked small, soft, almost fragile compared to their shining beauty. A Zelthari escort approached him, its voice clear and calm. "Welcome, human ambassador. The Queen awaits your arrival." Adrian nodded politely. "Thank you. I am honored to be here." The escort tilted its head slightly, a gesture of respect, and led him down a long corridor made entirely of glowing crystal. Every step he took echoed softly. He could feel the energy in the air, gentle but powerful. As he walked, Adrian thought about his mission. He was here to form an alliance to prove that humanity was a peaceful, valuable species. But deep inside, he also felt nervous. The Zelthari were known not only for their power, but also for their ability to read emotion. Lies, fear, even attraction. Nothing escaped their senses. Finally, they reached the royal chamber. The grand doors opened with a soft hum, revealing a vast hall filled with shimmering light. In the center stood the throne, carved from a single crystal that seemed to breathe with color. And upon it sat the Queen of Zelthar. She was tall and radiant, her form shining in shades of blue and silver. Her eyes glowed like stars in a calm night sky. Every movement she made was smooth, graceful, and full of quiet authority. Standing beside her was another figure, smaller, softer in glow, yet even more captivating. It was the princess. Adrian froze for a second. He had read reports describing the Zelthari royal family, but words had not prepared him for this. The princess's body shimmered with hues of violet and soft pink, her crystal form emitting a gentle light that seemed to pulse with life. Her presence was not just seen, it was felt. The air around her seemed warmer, almost alive. The Queen's voice broke his stillness. "Welcome, Captain Holt of Earth. I am Queen Seraphine of the Zelthari Empire. You honor us with your presence." Adrian bowed respectfully. "Your Majesty, the honor is mine. Humanity thanks you for this opportunity to share peace and friendship." The Queen smiled faintly, her lips glowing with light. "You speak well, human. It is rare for outsiders to visit our world, but your people have shown courage and curiosity. We value such traits." She turned toward her daughter. "This is my daughter, Princess Lyrian." The princess stepped forward. Her eyes met Adrian's, and in that moment he felt as if his heart skipped a beat. It wasn't love, not even attraction in the usual way. It was something deeper, stranger. Her gaze reached into his thoughts, touching emotions he didn't know how to name. He blinked quickly and gave a polite nod. "It's an honor, Princess." Her voice was soft, musical. "Welcome, Captain Holt. I hope our worlds may learn much from each other." As the formal greetings ended, the Queen invited him to a banquet. The hall transformed as crystal tables rose from the floor, filled with glowing fruit and liquid light. The food was strange but beautiful, each piece shining faintly like small stars on plates of glass. The music in the background was soft and harmonic, played by Zelthari instruments that produced light as well as sound. Adrian sat beside the princess. Her presence was both calming and intimidating. She asked him about Earth, about oceans, sunsets, and rain, things the Zelthari had never known. Her eyes glowed brighter with curiosity as he spoke of trees and human laughter, of the scent of rain and the feeling of the wind. "You humans," she said softly. "You live with such change, warmth and cold, night and day, life and death. We admire that. To us, time feels endless. But you live fully because your days are limited." Adrian nodded. "Maybe that's what makes life precious, because it doesn't last forever." The Queen watched their conversation silently. Her expression was thoughtful, almost amused. To her, humans were unpredictable, emotional creatures who could cry and laugh within the same breath. But there was something about this human's calmness, his honesty, that caught her attention. As the evening continued, Adrian noticed how the Zelthari around him moved, not walking, but gliding. Their bodies emitted soft trails of light, as if every step they took painted the air. The more time he spent among them, the more unreal everything seemed. It was like being inside a dream made of light and sound. But beneath that beauty, Adrian felt uneasy. The princess's light seemed to grow brighter each time she looked at him. It was gentle but powerful, and he could feel it pressing against his mind, stirring emotions he couldn't control. He forced himself to stay calm, to focus on his mission. When the banquet ended, the Queen spoke again. "You have traveled far, human. You must rest. My people will guide you to your chambers." Adrian stood and bowed. "Thank you, Your Majesty. I am deeply grateful for your kindness." The princess gave him a small, glowing smile. "Good night, Captain Holt." Her voice echoed softly in his ears long after he left the hall. His chamber was made of smooth crystal walls that shifted colors with his emotions. As he lay down, he stared at the ceiling, which showed a view of the stars. He tried to relax, but his mind kept returning to the princess's eyes, that strange, warm light that reached into his soul. What was that? He whispered to himself. Why did it feel like she could see inside me? He remembered her voice, her words, the way the air changed when she was near. It was not simple beauty. It was something else, something alive. He took a deep breath and closed his eyes. I must stay focused, he thought. This is diplomacy, not a dream. But even as sleep came, he could still see her face, and shining softly, like a star calling to him from far away. And deep within the palace, the Queen of Zelthar spoke quietly to her daughter. He is different from the others, isn't he? The princess nodded slowly. Yes, mother. He looks at me, but he does not lose himself. I don't understand why. The Queen's eyes glowed faintly. Perhaps, my daughter, we will soon find out. Outside, the crystal towers of Zelthar shimmered under the light of 3 moons. The galaxy seemed silent, but destiny had already begun to move. The meeting between a human and the most beautiful being in the galaxy would soon change both their worlds, forever. Morning light on the planet. Zelthar was not like sunrise on Earth. There was no sun climbing above the horizon. Instead, the entire sky slowly changed color, from deep blue to golden silver, as the crystal towers of the city caught the light of their 3 moons. The whole world shimmered like a sea of glass. Captain Adrian Holt woke up to soft music playing in his room. The walls pulsed gently with rhythm, sensing that he was awake. A Zelthari attendant entered, floating silently. Good morning, human ambassador. The Queen invites you to the royal garden for breakfast. Adrian got ready, still amazed by everything he saw. His uniform felt strangely simple among all this glowing beauty. But he stood tall. He was Earth's representative, and he had to act with dignity. The gardens were breathtaking. Trees of crystal stretched toward the sky, their leaves glowing faintly in the morning light. Streams of liquid light ran through the paths, and small winged creatures made of glass fluttered around the flowers. The air was cool and smelled faintly of rain, even though there were no clouds. The Queen sat at a long, transparent table with her daughter, Princess Lyra. Both looked like parts of the landscape itself, perfect, bright, and otherworldly. Good morning, Captain Holt, said the Queen, her tone graceful. I trust your rest was peaceful. Yes, Your Majesty, Adrian replied. Your world is unlike anything I have ever seen. It feels alive, the Queen smiled slightly. Zelthar listens to those who walk upon it. Our world is bound to us. It feels joy, sadness, even curiosity. Adrian took a seat. His reflection shimmered faintly on the table's crystal surface. The princess sat quietly, her eyes watching him. Every time he met her gaze, he felt something strange, like a wave of warmth brushing through his mind. He tried not to show it, During the meal, they spoke of many things. The Queen asked about Earth, its people, its oceans, its struggles. Adrian described it with honesty and pride. He spoke of human courage, creativity, and the desire to explore. The princess listened closely, her light flickering softly with each word. When Adrian mentioned the blue oceans, she leaned forward slightly. "I wish to see this sea you speak of," she said in her musical tone. "Water that moves freely. How beautiful that must be." Adrian smiled. "It is beautiful, princess. But sometimes it can also be wild and dangerous. The sea gives life, but it can also take it." Her expression changed. "How strange," she whispered. "On our world, beauty never harms." Adrian looked down at his hands. On Earth, beauty and danger often walk together. The Queen studied him silently. There was something in the human's eyes, a kind of sadness that did not belong to a weak creature. It was the sadness of one who had seen both light and darkness and chosen to walk between them. After breakfast, the Queen invited Adrian to join the royal court meeting. The council chamber was vast, filled with shining figures of the Zeltari nobles. They stood in perfect silence as the Queen spoke of peace with humanity. Some of them looked pleased. Others were not so kind. One noble stepped forward, his light sharp and cold. "Your Majesty, with respect, the humans are unstable. Their history is full of war and emotion. Can they truly be trusted?" Adrian stood calmly. "You are not wrong," he said. "Humans have fought many wars. We make mistakes. But we also learn. We grow stronger by facing our flaws." The room went silent. The noble's glow dimmed a little. Even the Queen seemed surprised by Adrian's honesty. Then the princess spoke softly, her voice clear. "That is why I find humans fascinating. They are not perfect, yet they continue to reach for the stars." Her words sent a ripple of light across the chamber. The Queen's gaze softened, proud of her daughter's wisdom. When the meeting ended, Adrian was invited to walk through the royal gardens once more, this time alone with the princess. They walked beside a glowing stream. Tiny orbs of light floated above the water like fireflies. The air was calm, filled with soft sounds of energy humming through the trees. "You seem quiet today," Lyrian said gently. Adrian smiled slightly. "I'm just trying to understand everything. Your world feels like a dream." She tilted her head, curious. "And dreams are not real?" "Dreams are real in the heart," he replied. "But we must wake up to live." Lyrian's light flickered gently. "Your words are strange, but I like them." They stopped near a crystal fountain. The water rose and fell like liquid glass, reflecting both of their faces. Adrian looked at her reflection. It was dazzling, too perfect. Her beauty was almost painful to behold. Her eyes seemed endless, like stars that could swallow everything. He turned away for a moment, breathing slowly. The princess noticed. "Do I disturb you, Captain?" He hesitated. "You do not disturb me, Princess. But when I look at you, I feel too much, she repeated softly. "Is that a bad thing?" He looked at her again. "Not bad. Just powerful, like standing too close to the sun." For the first time, she seemed unsure of herself. No one had ever described her like that. To her people, beauty was strength. To her, her glow was simply who she was. But the human saw something deeper, something that made him afraid, not of her, but of what her presence could do to him. That night, the Queen called Adrian to a private audience. The hall was quiet, filled with soft golden light. The Queen's gaze was deep and calm. "My daughter speaks of you often," she said. "She finds you different, honest. You do not flatter her as others do. You do not seem to fear her beauty, yet you avoid her gaze. Why is that, human?" Adrian stood in silence for a moment. The question struck straight into his heart. He bowed slightly. "Your Majesty, may I speak honestly?" "You may." He took a breath. "Because she is too beautiful." The Queen's eyes brightened. "Too beautiful? I do not understand. Is beauty not something your kind desires?" "It is," Adrian said softly. "But her beauty is not like ours. It doesn't just touch the eyes. It reaches the mind. When she looks at me, I feel my thoughts change. My emotions stir in ways I can't control. It's like standing in front of something sacred, something too bright for human eyes." The Queen was silent. Her form shimmered faintly, reflecting many colors. "You fear her beauty?" He shook his head. "No, I respect it. But if I let myself fall into it, I might forget who I am." The Queen leaned back on her throne. "You are the first being to say such a thing. Most fall to their knees before her light. You resisted. Adrian smiled faintly. Maybe that's what makes us human. We try to stand even when our hearts want to kneel. The Queen studied him closely. In that moment she understood something rare, that this human strength did not come from power but from restraint. Very well, Captain Holt, she said softly. You have given me much to think about. You may go. Adrian bowed deeply and left the chamber, but as he walked away he could feel the Queen's eyes on him, thoughtful, almost curious. When he returned to his quarters he looked out at the glowing city below. The towers reflected the starlight like rivers of glass. He touched the window and whispered, "Too beautiful." At that same moment in her private room, Princess Lyrian stood by her own window. Her heart glowed softly, confused. He said, "I am too beautiful," she whispered. Why would beauty make him sad? The Queen entered quietly behind her. "Because, my daughter," she said gently, "to some hearts beauty can be a burden, and to the bravest hearts, it can be a test." Lyrian turned, her eyes glowing faintly with wonder. "Then the human is brave?" The Queen smiled. "Perhaps the bravest of all. He does not bow to what others worship. That makes him rare." Outside, the stars shimmered above Zelthar. Somewhere among them, Earth waited, a small blue world whose people were just beginning to show the galaxy what it truly meant to be human. The Queen's voice echoed softly through the hall. "He will change us, my daughter. I can feel it. The human who fears beauty may teach the stars what love truly is." Days passed on the shining world of Zelthar, and Captain Adrian Holt slowly began to understand more about the strange beauty of this place. The people here were kind and wise, but there was something mysterious about them, something that felt deeper than light and color. Everywhere he went, he saw the same perfect calm. No one raised their voice. No one showed anger or sadness. The Zelthari people moved like streams of light, peaceful and graceful. Yet to Adrian something felt missing. There was no laughter, no surprise, no small mistakes that made life human. Each day the princess spent time with him, showing him different wonders of her world. Floating gardens, glowing lakes and cities made of living crystal. The people bowed when she passed, their light dimming in respect. Adrian noticed that wherever she went, the air seemed to glow brighter. But he also noticed something else. Everyone around her appeared too calm, too quiet, as if her presence washed away their thoughts. One evening, as they stood at the edge of a shining lake, Adrian asked carefully, "Princess, do your people ever feel sad?" She turned her glowing eyes toward him. "Sadness?" she repeated softly. "It is a rare emotion here. We live in harmony. Our hearts are balanced. But balance means no joy either," he said gently. "Without sadness, how do you know happiness?" Lyrian tilted her head. "You humans are strange. You see beauty in things that are broken." He smiled faintly. "Maybe that's because we are broken sometimes." For a moment, the princess said nothing. The light around her grew softer, warmer. "When I am near you," she whispered, "I feel something new. It is not sadness, but it is heavy, and yet I like it." Adrian looked into her eyes. "That's what it means to feel. It means being alive." Before she could answer, a voice echoed from behind them. "Princess Lyrian." It was the Queen. Her presence filled the space like sunlight filling a room. "The Council wishes to see the humans' reaction to the Crystal Hall," she said calmly. Adrian nodded. "Of course, Your Majesty." He followed the Queen and Princess into a grand chamber deep within the palace. The air inside hummed softly with power. The walls were lined with crystals that pulsed with rhythm, almost like heartbeats. "This is the heart chamber," the Queen said. "Every Zelthari's life force connects to this place. It stores our memories, emotions, and thoughts." Adrian was amazed. "It's like a living library." The Queen smiled faintly. "Yes, and now we will study something new, your kind." He frowned slightly. "Study?" Before he could ask more, a gentle light surrounded him. He felt no pain, only warmth. It was as if invisible hands touched his mind, reading his emotions. He saw flashes in his home on Earth, his mother's smile, his first flight into space. Then he saw Lyrian's face glowing brighter than all the stars. The Queen's voice echoed gently. "Remarkable. Your emotions are complex, so strong. Your kind feels so much pain and hope at once." She turned to her daughter. "Do you see, Lyrian? This is why the human resisted you. His heart is filled with too many colors." The princess looked worried. "Mother, what do you mean?" The queen motioned for Adrian to step closer to one of the large crystals. Inside, he saw faint lights swirling, memories perhaps. Our beauty, the queen said slowly, is not simple. It affects other minds. Our light speaks to emotions, not just eyes. To most species, it brings peace. But to your kind, it is too strong. Adrian stared at her. So that's why I feel strange when I look at her. The queen nodded. Yes, our radiance connects to feelings. You feel her presence because her aura reaches your mind. It can stir love, fear, or even surrender. That is our gift and our curse. Adrian was silent. It made sense now. The warmth he felt, the pull in his heart. It wasn't just beauty. It was a kind of emotional force. Lyrian stepped forward, her voice soft and troubled. So, when you look at me, what you feel is not real. Adrian shook his head gently. I don't know. Maybe part of it is real. But if my feelings are shaped by your aura, then how can I be sure they are mine? The princess lowered her head, her glow dimming slightly. For the first time, she looked uncertain. I never meant to control you, she whispered. I only wanted you to see me as I am. Adrian smiled kindly. I do see you, princess. But maybe what makes humans different is that we need to love freely. If someone takes away choice, even by accident, it isn't love anymore. The queen listened quietly, her eyes deep with thought. Your words carry truth, human. Many beings across the galaxy have admired us for our beauty. None have questioned its meaning until now. She turned to her daughter. You see, Lyrian, love without freedom is only illusion. The princess looked at her mother. Then how can I ever know if someone truly loves me? The queen placed a shining hand on her shoulder. Perhaps that is the lesson this human brings to us. Adrian stood there, feeling the quiet hum of the crystals around him. The air felt heavy with emotion. He realized something deep. Even in this perfect, glowing world, there was loneliness. The Zelthari had everything but one thing, the ability to feel imperfection and still call it beautiful. Later that night, Adrian returned to his quarters. He sat by the crystal window, watching the stars above the shining city. He thought about Earth, the noise, the storms, the laughter, the small mistakes that made life real. He whispered softly, maybe beauty is not meant to be perfect. Just then, a knock came at the door. It opened gently and Princess Lyrian entered. She wore a cloak of soft silver light that shimmered faintly with her steps. I wanted to understand, she said quietly. You said beauty without freedom is not real. Then tell me, what does real beauty mean to humans? Adrian looked at her surprised. Real beauty, he said slowly, is when something touches your heart. Not because it's perfect, but because it's true. Like when you see the first sunrise after a storm, or when someone smiles even though they're hurting. That's beauty. Lyrian's light flickered softly. Our kind cannot smile or cry. We show beauty, but we cannot feel it as you do. He nodded. Maybe that's why the universe brought us together. So you can see beauty not with your eyes, but with your heart. They stood there in silence for a moment, the light from her body glowing softly against his human face. Then she said, You are strange, Captain Holt. You make me feel uncertain yet calm. He chuckled lightly. Humans are strange to everyone. The princess smiled faintly, or at least something close to a smile. I think I want to learn what it means to be human. He looked at her with gentle eyes. Then you already started learning. From the shadows of the hallway unseen, the queen watched them both. Her heart glowed softly, proud yet worried. She could sense her daughter's feelings growing, and she could sense the human's heart, pure but fragile. When the princess left for the night, the queen stepped into the room. Adrian bowed respectfully. You speak words that touch my daughter deeply, she said softly. But remember this, human. Her heart is light and yours is flesh. You are not the same. The bond you create could bring peace, or sorrow. Adrian met her gaze calmly. I understand, Your Majesty. I have no wish to harm your daughter. I only wish to be honest. The queen nodded slowly. Honesty is a rare gift. Keep it. When she left, Adrian looked once more at the stars. He thought of the princess's words, of her desire to understand what it meant to be human. He whispered, Maybe beauty is not meant to be worshipped. Maybe it's meant to be shared. Outside, the 3 moons of Zelthar rose higher, their light dancing over the palace towers. Inside, 2 hearts, and one of crystal and one of flesh, began to move toward a truth neither of their worlds had ever known. And far above, among the stars, Something seemed to watch, as if the universe itself was waiting to see what would happen next between a human who feared beauty and a princess who wanted to feel love. The days after that night passed quietly on the shining world of Zelthar. Yet under the calm surface, something was changing. The court began to whisper about the strange connection between the human and the princess. To most Zelthari, it was unthinkable. Their kind had never loved a creature made of flesh. They saw humans as young and emotional, too fragile, too chaotic. Yet the princess seemed drawn to the human ambassador in ways that even the queen could not explain. Captain Adrian Holt continued his duties with care. He attended council meetings, shared human knowledge about diplomacy and science, and helped design new trade systems. The queen respected his intelligence and his honesty. Still, whenever her daughter's light flickered brighter in his presence, the queen's eyes grew thoughtful and cautious. One morning, a message came from the queen herself. Adrian was invited to the Hall of Radiance, the oldest and most sacred place in the Empire. The Zelthari believed that truth could not hide within its walls. When he arrived, the hall glowed with pure white light. The queen sat on her throne, surrounded by the High Council. Princess Lyrian stood beside her mother, her glow soft and calm. Adrian felt the eyes of hundreds of radiant beings upon him. The queen spoke with a clear, calm voice. "Captain Holt of Earth, my daughter speaks of you with respect and emotion. Many among my people do not understand this bond. Some believe your heart hides deception. Others believe it hides fear. To end all doubt, I declare a trial of hearts." Adrian straightened his posture. "What kind of trial, Your Majesty?" "It is an ancient custom of our kind," the queen explained. Two beings walk through the Hall of Reflections. The crystals there reveal truth. They show what is in one's heart. No words, no lies. If your feelings are false, the crystals will break. If your heart is true, they will shine. Adrian nodded slowly. "And if I refuse?" The queen's eyes glowed faintly. "Refusal would mean your heart carries fear." He smiled slightly. "Then I will walk the hall." The princess looked at him, her eyes wide with both hope and worry. "Mother, must we do this?" The queen's tone was gentle but firm. "Yes, my daughter. You must know the truth as well. If his heart holds honesty, you will see it. If not, you will be free from this confusion." And so the hall doors opened. The light inside was bright but soft, like morning sunlight through glass. The queen remained outside with the court while Adrian and Lyrian stepped into the Hall of Reflections. Inside, the walls shimmered like living mirrors. As they walked, their reflections followed, multiplying in every direction. Each mirror seemed to whisper, showing flashes of memory, laughter, tears, and dreams. The princess walked beside him silently. Her glow illuminated the path ahead. "Are you afraid?" she asked softly. Adrian shook his head. "A little, but not of what I might see. I'm more afraid of what you might feel." Her light flickered gently. "Why do you care?" He looked at her reflection. "Because I don't want to hurt you. You deserve truth, not illusions." As they moved deeper, the mirrors began to show images, Adrian as a boy, looking at the night sky from his small house on Earth. Then scenes of him training for the space program, risking his life to reach the stars. He saw his friends, his family, his failures. The princess watched quietly. "You have suffered," she whispered. "Everyone does," he replied. "That's how humans learn." Then the mirrors changed. Now they showed her, Princess Lyrian, standing under the silver sky, her light pure and endless. In one reflection, she reached out to him. In another, he turned away. The princess frowned slightly. "Why do you look away in every image?" Adrian sighed. "Because your beauty feels like light that could burn me. It's too much for a human heart." She looked down. "I never meant to cause pain." "I know," he said kindly. "But sometimes the most beautiful things are also the hardest to face." Suddenly the mirrors around them brightened. A new image appeared. The two of them standing together beneath the stars, their hands almost touching. Between them glowed a small spark of golden light. The princess gasped softly. "What is that?" Adrian smiled faintly. "That, I think, is what we call understanding." The mirrors began to hum softly. The air shimmered with soft sound and not words but emotion. The hall itself seemed to respond to their hearts. Outside, the queen and the council watched as the white light of the hall changed to gold. Gasps filled the chamber. One of the elders whispered, "No crystal has ever glowed gold before." Inside, the mirrors continued to shine. The princess reached out, her hand trembling slightly. "Adrian," she said softly, "what would happen if I were human?" He looked at her carefully. "You would still be you. And that would still be beautiful. But what makes you special isn't how you look. It's how you feel, even when you think you can't." For the first time, Lyrian's light flickered like a heartbeat. Her voice shook gently. "Then maybe beauty isn't what I thought it was." Adrian nodded. "Maybe beauty is what remains when the light fades." The hall grew still. The mirrors stopped shifting. Then slowly the golden glow filled the entire space. A deep, calm hum filled the air like a song without sound. When the doors opened, both of them stepped out. The queen stood, her eyes wide. The council was silent, watching the strange golden light that still shimmered around the human and her daughter. The queen spoke slowly. "The hall has spoken. The light of gold means honesty, not desire. Your heart, human, is pure." Adrian bowed deeply. "Thank you, Your Majesty." The princess's glow was softer now, almost peaceful. She turned to her mother. "He was honest, Mother. He never wanted to use me or hurt me. He only wanted to tell the truth." The queen looked at her daughter for a long moment, then smiled faintly. "I see that now," the court murmured with surprise. Some Zelthari bowed their heads in respect. Others watched in silent awe. Never before had the sacred hall shown gold light. That evening, a celebration was held in honor of the new friendship between Earth and Zelthar. Music filled the palace, and the crystal walls reflected the colors of joy. Adrian stood on the balcony, watching the twin moons rise. The queen joined him quietly. "You have changed many hearts today," she said softly. "Even mine. For centuries, we believed beauty was perfection. But you have shown us it can also mean truth, even when truth is not perfect." Adrian looked at her respectfully. "Perfection can be lonely, Your Majesty. Imperfection makes life real." The queen nodded slowly. "And what of my daughter? Do you still think she is too beautiful?" Adrian smiled gently. "Yes, but now I understand why. Her beauty isn't in her light, and it's in her heart." From the other side of the balcony, the princess appeared. She had heard every word. "Then you are not afraid anymore?" she asked softly. He looked at her, his expression kind. "No, I'm not afraid. I just don't want to lose myself. But I'll always remember you." Lyrian's glow brightened, warm and golden. "And I will remember you, human, the one who saw me not as perfection but as a person." The queen watched them both, silent and proud. She finally understood what her people had forgotten long ago, that beauty without choice was only illusion, and love without truth was only light without warmth. That night, when the celebration ended, the queen stood before her people and spoke. "Today we learned from a young race what we have forgotten through the ages. True beauty is not in light or perfection. It is in the courage to be true even when it hurts." Her words echoed through the grand hall, reaching every corner of the shining empire. And somewhere deep in the stars, the universe listened. As Adrian prepared to leave Zelthar the next day, the queen met him one last time. "You came here as an ambassador, but you leave as a teacher. Your world should be proud," Adrian bowed. "It is I who learned, Your Majesty. From your daughter, I learned that beauty can have a soul." The queen smiled. "Then perhaps your kind and mine are not so different after all." As his ship lifted off, the princess stood on the balcony, watching the silver trail fade into the sky. Her light flickered softly, not in sadness, but in peace. The human had left, but his words remained, glowing in her heart like a golden reflection that would never fade. And so, the story of the human who refused the most beautiful being in the galaxy spread through the stars, not as a tale of rejection, but as one of truth, courage, and the strange, fragile beauty of the human heart. The day of departure arrived sooner than anyone expected. The grand halls of Zelthar, once full of golden light and laughter, now carried a quiet calm. Everyone in the palace knew the human ambassador was leaving. Captain Adrian Holt had spent months among the Zelthari, months of learning, sharing, and quietly changing the hearts of those who had once believed humans were small, emotional creatures. Now even the proudest among them bowed when he passed. They called him the Honest One. His ship was ready, standing tall in the royal hangar. The smooth silver surface reflected the twin suns of Zelthar, shining with soft blue light. As he walked through the corridors one last time, his steps echoed gently against the crystal floors. He paused at the grand balcony, the same place where he had spoken with the queen and her daughter many nights before. The view stretched far beyond the city, showing rivers of glowing energy and tall crystal spires that reached into the clouds. It was beautiful, and for a moment Adrian wondered if he would ever see something like this again. Behind him, soft light began to grow. He didn't need to turn to know who it was. Leaving without saying goodbye, Captain Holt, came a gentle, familiar voice. Adrian smiled faintly. I was hoping to avoid long farewells, Princess. They're always harder than they should be. Lyra stepped closer, her glow calm but warm. She had changed since the day he met her. Her light was no longer sharp and perfect. It flickered softly like the steady beat of a living heart. Hard, she repeated. Humans always use that word when something means more than they can explain. He nodded. Yes, because some feelings are too big for words. The princess stood beside him, watching the horizon. You came from a world of stone and metal, she said quietly. Yet you brought something my people could never create. Imperfection with meaning. Adrian chuckled lightly. That's a poetic way of saying we're a mess. She smiled, a faint shimmer crossing her face. Maybe, but a beautiful mess. For a while they just stood there in silence. The wind carried faint music from the city below, and the sky shimmered with soft auroras. Finally, Lyra spoke again. When you first came here, I thought humans were fragile. I thought you feared beauty because it reminded you of what you could never have. But now I see you were never afraid of me. You were afraid of losing what made you human. Adrian turned toward her, his eyes calm. You understand more than most humans ever could? She looked up at him. Then tell me this, Adrian Holt, if the stars allowed it, if I could walk beside you on Earth, would you have loved me? For a moment he couldn't answer. The question hung between them like soft music, beautiful and painful at once. He took a slow breath. Maybe love isn't about what we could do, Princess. Maybe it's about what we choose not to do, because we respect what we already have. Her light trembled slightly. So your answer is still no? He smiled sadly. My answer is still that you are too beautiful. Not for my eyes, but for my world. If I took you there, the world would stop to look at you. They'd never see beyond your glow, but here you shine for your people. That's where your beauty belongs. Lyra looked away, though her eyes glowed softly. Then I will accept that truth. You once said beauty is what remains when the light fades. I think I understand now. Even if you leave, your truth will stay. Adrian's voice was quiet. Truth is the only light that doesn't fade. The queen appeared then, walking slowly toward them. Her presence was strong yet gentle, like the steady pulse of a star. You taught us much, Captain Holt, she said. You showed us that beauty and perfection are not the same. You helped my daughter see herself not as a symbol but as a soul. Adrian bowed. Your Majesty, your world taught me just as much. You showed me that even perfection can learn. The queen smiled faintly. That may be the greatest compliment a human has ever given me. There was a quiet pause. The queen looked at her daughter, then back at the human. You will always be welcome here. The gates of Zelthar will remember your name. Adrian nodded respectfully. And Earth will remember yours, Majesty. The galaxy will know of a world that glows with wisdom, not just light. The queen stepped forward and gently placed her hand over her heart, a Zelthari sign of respect. Adrian returned the gesture. Before you go, she said softly, there is one last gift. She turned to her daughter, who held a small crystal sphere. It pulsed with faint golden light, the same light that had appeared in the Hall of Reflections. This, said the princess, is the memory of our trial, the gold light that was born from truth. It will never fade as long as you remember who you are. Adrian accepted it carefully. Thank you. I'll keep it safe, the queen smiled. It doesn't need safety, Captain Holt, it only needs belief. Moments later, the time came. Adrian walked to the waiting ship. The ramp shimmered with soft blue light. Every step felt heavier than the last. Behind him, the queen and the princess stood together, their lights glowing side by side. As he reached the top of the ramp, he turned around one last time. Farewell, Princess. Thank you for teaching me how light can have a heart. And thank you, human, she replied, her voice barely above a whisper, for showing me that hearts can shine brighter than light. The ship's engines began to hum. Dust and light swirled around the platform. Slowly the vessel rose, breaking through the silver clouds. The princess watched until it vanished into the sky. For a long moment she stood there silently. The queen placed a hand on her shoulder. "Are you all right, my daughter?" Lyra nodded slowly. "Yes, mother. I'm not sad. I'm grateful." "Grateful?" the queen asked softly. "Yes," Lyra said, "because he didn't take my light away. He helped me see it." The queen smiled proudly. Then he did what no one else could. Days turned into weeks. The story of the humans spread through the empire, a story of a man who refused the beauty of the stars not out of fear but out of respect. It became a legend told to young Zelthari, the one who saw beyond the glow. On Earth, months later, Captain Holt stood under the night sky, holding the golden crystal in his hand. It pulsed softly, just as it had on Zelthar. When he looked up, he could see the faint shimmer of the distant planet, a tiny light among millions. He smiled quietly. "Too beautiful," he whispered. Beside him, a young cadet asked, "Sir, what's that crystal?" Adrian looked at it for a moment, then placed it back into his pocket. "It's a memory," he said, "of a world that taught me what beauty really means." The cadet looked confused. "And what does it mean, sir?" Adrian smiled faintly. "It means truth. Even if it hurts, it's still beautiful." That night when he walked home, the stars above seemed to shine a little brighter. Perhaps it was only his imagination, or perhaps the princess, light years away, stood on her balcony, looking toward the same stars. Somewhere between those two worlds, the golden light still glowed, small, steady, and eternal. And in the great, endless silence of the universe, two hearts, one of light and one of flesh, kept the same promise, to remember that true beauty lives not in perfection, but in honesty.